Frank Lloyd Wright is considered by many to be the world's greatest architect. He influenced design around the globe, from the suburban living room to the city skyline. City Theater presents Work Song, 3 views of Frank Lloyd Wright, written by Jeffrey Hatcher and Eric Simonson. Architect.
We build the tallest damn buildings in the world, and we do it with the aggression and grace of a god.
Maverick.
I resign my services.
If you leave here now, you'll fail. I'll make sure of that, and people will see that you failed.
Husband.
No, don't leave!
Just for a walk, it's insufferable around here.
Help me with the baby.
That's not my job.
Lover.
Of life immense in passion, pulse, and power.
Are those what your houses are like?
We'd better head back in. Catherine will think I've left.
You have.
Innovator.
We begin at the precipice. Not above the water, not below, but in the waterfall itself. Our foundation is the rock. We grip the rock, fingers deep into the shale, holding on for dear life.
City Theater presents the regional premiere of this new play, which explores the passionate life of the man behind the buildings. For information and tickets to Work Song, call 412-431-CITY or visit citytheatercompany.org. Co-authors Jeffrey Hatcher and Eric Simonson have been collaborating on Work Song since 1999.
Well, I used to live in Chicago, and around the early 90s, a couple of biographies came out, one by Meryl Seacrest and then by Brendan Gill. And they were pretty extensive biographies on Frank Lloyd Wright. And at the same time, there was an exhibit coming through town, and I went to see it, and we decided that it would be a great subject matter for a play.
Well, I knew his image, I knew what he looked like, I knew his major
His
buildings.
silhouette.
Yes,
Not his
he was
hat.
like Hitchcock's silhouette. So I knew what I thought the generally fairly well-educated person in America would know about him. I knew he was a sacred monster. So for that reason, I was interested.
And I said, what about a play? And we could collaborate on it. And Jeff was naive enough to say, yeah.
You know what it's like to go into a room first thing in the morning, and the sun is coming in through the skylight, and in front of you on the drafting board is a blank sheet, waiting. You can do anything. Remake the whole world with a stroke of your pencil.
I thought about doing a huge production that might be 3 evenings, and each evening would be 3 acts. We were just crazy about the idea of Frank on stage. And if you were going to do a theater piece, you had to do something that was as big as the man himself.
At the time, it sounded fine, but it was financially,
Oh, it was ridiculous.
But we did think that what might be a better idea would be to take 3 chunks of his life, 3 views, 3 pieces, and say, all right, this is Frank, young man in a hurry, leading up to a cataclysmic event.
I need to be an architect.
But I need you as a draftsman. You'll get your chance.
When?
When the time's right.
When you say so.
We have a contract.
Which will expire.
Frank?
This is Frank in the midpoint of his life on a centered weekend at Taliesin when it looks like maybe he's come to the end of his career.
An idea is good, it will defend you. My work is my defense.
What work? Dad, if there's no work, what's the point? Everything you've done, all the things that you have put people through, if there's no work, it wasn't worth it.
And then this is Frank right at the very end, within months of his death, when he goes back to visit a house he'd built back when he was a young man.
When we decided we were going to work on this project, we divided the play up into 3 acts, and the writing duties kind of fell into place very quickly. I volunteered to take the first act, which we knew was going to be a lot like a biopic, and include the first 20 years of his career leading up to this catastrophic event that Jeff mentioned. And then Jeff had a really great idea for the third act, which he wrote very quickly.
Well, we'd been workshopping it at Milwaukee Rep, where we first did it. And, you know, you're only about a 2-hour drive from Chicago there. And one night I decided to go down to Chicago, to Oak Park, where Wright had designed all of his first great houses, including his own. And he designed a house for his mistress, Mamie Cheney. And that house is now a bed and breakfast. And so I spent the night there, and I have to admit it was the only time I kind of felt haunted by a place. And I got up very early the next morning and started writing the third piece, and then took it up to Milwaukee that afternoon, and we started to read it with the actors.
Edwin spoils him.
He should be spoiling his wife.
I spoil myself.
If I were him, I'd know how to spoil you.
And how is that?
I'd build you a home. One that would be a fitting expression of the union between you and me.
Me and him.
If I were him.
I'd like that.
The second piece we deliberated on. We wanted to find the point that Frank rejuvenated his career, and I think most people would argue that he was in the Depression, maybe suffering a depression, and he'd set up Taliesin and the Fellowship in Wisconsin, but he wasn't doing much work. And then he got a commission from Edgar Kaufman in Pittsburgh to do a house out in Bear Run, and it turns out to be Falling Water. And the story of him creating Falling Water is very famous, so we felt if we could connect that up to his state of being at that time, then we might have a fun middle piece.
3 balconies. No, 4. 5 balconies! Cantilevered beyond sense and arcing out into the air. Suspended between the water and the rock and the steam and the spray and the sky. All the lines converging in consort without and within in harmony. A home for a man and his family. Falling Water.
When we started working on the play together, the thing that fascinated me about Frank Lloyd Wright was that I looked around me and I saw it was not just me who was fascinated by the man, but it was a lot of different people from all walks of life. So there's something I thought about this man's homes that captured the imagination of the American psyche. And one of the things is that you have to walk into a Frank Lloyd Wright house and suddenly you feel an overwhelming sense of inspiration, space, and sort of majesty and ingenuity. I wanted to find out what it was about Frank Lloyd Wright, the man, and also his work that connected with the American character. And this play, you know, for my part, is trying to get at the answer to that question.
I quite agree, in the sense that he's a great creator and someone who does define the American spirit. I hope the play shows both the cost that he had to go through, the effort, the loss to create what he created, but also the spirit that kept him going. And that spirit's a very American spirit.
For information and tickets to Work Song, call 412-431-CITY or visit citytheatercompany.org.
Good evening. What you're about to witness is an unrehearsed, uncensored interview. My name is Mike Wallace. The cigarette is Philip Morris. All right, let me ask you this. As an intellectual yourself, Mr. Wright, what do you think of President...
I deny the allegation, and I refuse to marry that girl.
What do you think of...
I don't like intellectuals.
You don't like intellectuals? Why not?
Because they're superficial. They're up top. They're from the top down, not from the ground up. I've always flattered myself that what I represented was from the ground up. Does that mean anything?
I'm trying to figure it out.